This training video is brought to you by the National Cybercrime Training Partnership, NCTP. The mission of the NCTP, formerly known as the Infotech Training Working Group, ITWIG, is to provide guidance and assistance to local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies in an effort to ensure that the law enforcement community is properly trained to address computer-related crime. This video was developed for law enforcement officers new to cybercrime, who may have to take complaints involving allegations of internet crime, or who may have to respond to crime scenes where a computer may be involved. It is an introduction to the online world and the types of crime committed there, online investigations, and the procedures for seizing and preserving computer evidence from the crime scene to the evidence room.
Hello, I'm John Walsh, host of America's Most Wanted. The law enforcement training program that you're about to see takes crime fighting into the new frontier of electronic communication. The internet and services provided by various online companies are rapidly becoming an integral part of our nation's education, commercial, business, and cultural environment. But, like every other technological advance, criminals have found a way to abuse it. Henry Ford certainly never thought anyone would turn his invention into a getaway car for bank robbers and other criminals. Nor did the Wright brothers ever think that someday terrorists would hijack commercial airplanes. So, the online world is another in a series of technological breakthroughs that criminals have found a way to abuse. This video consists of 3 parts. Part 1 is a primer, an introduction to the online world, the crimes that are committed, what you need to know to be a more effective law enforcement officer. In Part 2, you'll see the kind of disguises used by online criminals and learn various techniques to investigate online crime. In Part 3, it covers the special challenge of seizing and preserving computers and computer-related evidence. A note of caution, while some law enforcement agencies proactively search for online crimes, that's not our goal here. That requires even more specialized training. Our goal here is to raise your awareness of online crime, how to react and respond to it, and how to follow through on an investigation. Now, here is Part 1 with your online reporter, John Spiropoulos.
Online child pornography, the rawest photos you can imagine, are available to child molesters and pedophiles with a few clicks of the mouse.
There have been at least 40,000 child pornography images posted on the internet, plus short movies have been posted on the internet.
Cyber predators like these lure boys and girls to meetings for sex. Cyber thieves commit consumer fraud and more. When $500,000 worth of computers were stolen from Hewlett-Packard, investigators found them for sale on the internet and raided this man's home near Sacramento, California.
On the internet, I sell a lot on the internet.
Online crime is the new challenge to law enforcement officers.
They are going to encounter in every kind of investigation that they're called to, every crime scene that they go to, more and more they are going to be encountering computers and information systems.
Sergeant Toby Tyler is one of the nation's leading online crime investigators.
To be an efficient investigator in law enforcement, and now and in the future, you have to have cyber skills. Whether you're investigating burglary, narcotics, stolen property, bombs, child sexual abuse and exploitation, it makes no difference. All of these things are happening online.
In this video, we'll cover the types of online crime, where it occurs, how it's committed, how to respond to it, what evidence to look for, where to get expert help. You'll hear from several leading experts in the field, including Scott Charney, Chief of the Computer Crime Section, Criminal Division, U.S. Justice Department; Ken Guide, Deputy Director of the FBI's National Infrastructure Protection Center; Mark Pollitt, Program Manager of the FBI's Computer Analysis and Response Team, known as CART. Linda Hooper, Supervisory Special Agent, FBI Operation Innocent Images. Don Hike, Senior Special Agent and Program Manager, U.S. Customs, Child Pornography Enforcement. Special Agent John McKinnon, U.S. Customs Service, Child Pornography Enforcement Program. Special Agent Claude Davenport, Computer Investigative Specialist, U.S. Customs. Dennis Vacco, Attorney General, State of New York. Mike McCartney, Investigator, New York State Attorney General's Office. Sergeant Toby Tyler, Crimes Against Children Detail, San Bernardino, California Sheriff's Department. Mike Menz, Detective, Sacramento Valley, California High Tech Crimes Task Force. Here's what it takes to get into cyberspace. A computer, sometimes the computer and the monitor are in the same box, hooked to a modem, connected to a telephone line. Next, I activate computer software and type in a secret password from my account at America Online. That noise you hear is the modem dialing into AOL. Okay, I'm online now with AOL, and I have some choices. I can either use some of their services, or I can go to other parts of cyberspace. Let's go on a tour of cyberspace and see what's out there. There are various neighborhoods in cyberspace offering different services and experiences: educational, cultural, commercial, and recreational. At some locations, you have to be a member to get in. At other locations, anyone can visit. So what is this online universe made up of? To start with, it's millions of computers connected by telephone lines. The phone line from your house can transport you and your computer to just about anywhere. The Internet is the largest neighborhood in cyberspace. It consists of the World Wide Web, Usenet newsgroups, and Internet relay chat. You can also send and receive electronic mail along this digital road through cyberspace, a digital road that's often called the Information Superhighway. To get on that highway, most people use an Internet Service Provider, or ISP for short. Some ISPs are merely an on-ramp to the highway and take you directly to the Internet. Other Internet Service Providers, CompuServe, Microsoft, and others, can take you to the Internet, but they've also built their own superhighways, separate from the Internet, offering a variety of online services to members only. Key learning points. There are various neighborhoods in cyberspace. You connect to cyberspace via an Internet Service Provider, or ISP. Criminals can strike from a variety of locations in cyberspace. Solving the crime requires gathering fragile, time-sensitive evidence from multiple locations, as we'll discuss in our next segment. Cyber crimes leave a trail of digital electronic evidence. The evidence may be in the victim's computer or storage device, like a floppy disk, in the victim's Internet Service Provider records, in the perpetrator's computer or storage device, in the perpetrator's Internet Service Provider records, or at other locations in cyberspace. Wherever the evidence is, handle it with care.
There is always going to be digital evidence. That evidence is the most fragile of all forms of evidence. It is very easily altered, it is very easily changed by doing such simple things as actually turning the computer on or attempting to read files that are stored on its storage devices.
When you encounter a computer that's turned off, don't turn it on. When you encounter a computer that's turned on, don't touch it until instructed exactly what to do.
I think probably the greatest caution is if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Get a hold of somebody. Find someone who does know what they're doing and get them to assist you in your inquiry into the contents of the computer. It's too easy to go in and destroy valuable evidence.
But get help quickly, because some evidence disappears in a matter of days, sometimes hours.
If we're going to be successful in preventing, protecting, and catching online criminals, whether it be at that local level or at the national level, then we must act in a real-time kind of environment.
Acting real-time means recognizing the crime and asking the right questions.
Many questions you can ask. One, to try to identify what part of the Internet is involved.
Learning points. Cyber evidence is fragile and time-sensitive. It's easily destroyed or altered and exists in multiple locations. Don't turn on computers which are off. Don't turn off computers which are on without instructions. The next 4 segments take us to different locations in cyberspace, places you may be dispatched to. We'll cover the types of crimes that occur there, the criminal's method of operation, the evidence to look for, and the cyber questions to ask. The World Wide Web is a major part of the Internet. It's where organizations set up websites. Think of them as electronic storefronts in cyberspace. Frequently, they're a combination of text, pictures, videos, and sounds. You easily move from one website to another with software called a web browser. Each website has an address called a Uniform Resource Locator, or URL. This is the website for the New York Stock Exchange. The address, www.nyse.com. If you type in abcnews.com, the web browser takes you to the ABC News website. In addition to news and information, you can get sports scores and features, investment results and advice, or go shopping for just about anything. Some websites, however, are run by con artists who deliver goods that are worth a lot less than you paid for them.
We've also had cases, for example, where people set up websites and offer products for sale, but they have no such product. They're just collecting credit card numbers.
And once I have their credit card numbers, I go shopping. And in a couple of weeks, I tear down the website and just disappear.
Key learning points. The World Wide Web is a series of electronic storefronts. Criminals set up websites to commit fraud and other crimes. When you have a citizen complain about a website, here are key cyber questions to ask about the crime and the evidence. What is the address, the Uniform Resource Locator, the URL of the website in question? Did the complainant print a copy of the screen? If so, ask for it. Did the complainant save a copy of the website image in his or her computer? If so, ask for a copy on a floppy disk. Usenet is another major subdivision of the Internet. It's made up of what are called newsgroups. Think of newsgroups as bulletin boards, like the one you have at your office or precinct. You drop by, read what's on it, maybe you add your own articles or comments. You post an article or comment when you send it from your computer to a newsgroup. You download an article or comment from a newsgroup when you see something that you want to keep. In cyberspace, there are thousands of newsgroups with postings on just about any activity you can imagine, some of it illegal.
There are newsgroups dedicated to the collection, dissemination of child pornography.
Thieves also use newsgroups to sell stolen goods.
So what they've done is they've gone out to the newsgroups and advertised stolen products for sale using the newsgroups side of the Internet.
The United States Secret Service keeps a constant eye on the Internet. It found this computer program which generates credit card numbers. Criminals use it to commit credit card fraud. Criminals also use newsgroup postings to transmit U.S. currency, which is then printed on high-quality, low-cost color printers. The Secret Service reports that more than 40% of the counterfeit currency seized today is printed on inkjet printers similar to this. U.S. Treasury checks are also posted in newsgroups. Fraudsters download and alter them with an easy-to-use graphics program. They can increase the amount of the check, then print it. This is just a partial list of the thousands of newsgroups I can access from my computer. I click on one that's about crime. Here we see a list of articles and comments which have been posted. One is about driver's licenses. When I open the message, it asks for information on finding a fake Texas driver's license. Some newsgroups are collections of get-rich-quick scams.
There are the pyramid schemes. Those are occurring all the time. Constantly getting calls from people that have been built by something like that.
The name of this newsgroup is 3do.badattitude. The name of this posting inside it is Earning Side Income with 4 exclamation points following it. It turns out to be a chain letter scam.
The chain letter makes me money every day. I mean, yeah, it's one of the oldest scams, but it works better than ever on the Internet.
The fraud that you see on the Internet is the same fraud that you see in the real world. Just a new place to perpetrate an old scam.
Key learning points. Newsgroups are like office bulletin boards where messages are posted. Criminals use newsgroups to commit crimes. When you have a citizen complain about a newsgroup, here are key cyber questions to ask about the crime and the evidence. Who is their internet service provider? What is the name of the newsgroup? What is the name of the posting? Does the complainant have a printed copy of the posting in question? If so, ask for it. Did the complainant download the posting in question? If so, ask for a copy on floppy disk. Another neighborhood of the Internet is Internet Relay Chat, IRC for short. This is where people chat, not by speaking, but by typing the words on the keyboard. There are thousands of chat areas discussing specific subjects: music, sports, sex, you name it. The chats take place via a server, which is a computer that serves or delivers information, like a waiter serves or delivers food. Here are the names of dozens of different servers I can reach on my computer. And each server has hundreds, sometimes thousands of channels. These are the names of the channels. Each channel is a different place to chat. Here's a list of the thousands of Internet Relay chat channels that I can access from my computer. I'll click on a chat channel and see what people are talking about. Here's what the channel looks like on your computer screen. This shows who's talking to the group and what they're saying. This part of the screen shows who's in the channel. These are not their real names, but nicknames they use when they're online. For example, there's Enchantra and Lil Red. I'm using the nickname Video Man in this room. I can communicate with everyone in the room by simply typing on the keyboard, "How is everyone?" then hit the return button. In a flash, the question appears on the computer screen of everyone in the chat room. Another option, type a private message, say "What's happening?" and send it to just one person, for example. And that private message appears only on that one person's computer screen. Sometimes comments made in chat channels are just innocent chatter. Sometimes not. Pedophiles meet in some channels to discuss their sexual exploits. They'll often trade child pornography pictures via email with an attached file. That's what this Texas man did, but the child pornography he sent was to an undercover police officer in the San Bernardino, California Sheriff's Department.
Again, this is another photograph that Mr. sent me, and it's child pornography, a child and a man engaging in sexual acts.
The man who sent the child pornography was later arrested by police in Texas. Here we're on a police raid led by internet investigators for the New York Attorney General. The target, people who send child pornography over the internet. One case involved that and more.
We discovered that there were allegations that he was molesting a young girl who was under the age of 10, somebody that he knew. So we have now indicted him not only for the child pornography statutes, but we have also indicted him for sexual abuse.
Pedophiles and other sexual predators also visit chat areas catering to children and teenagers.
The internet provides access to children. In the past, child molesters and pedophiles went to where the children are. The playgrounds, the malls, arcades, and other places where children would be attracted. Well, now pedophiles, without ever leaving their home, go to where the kids are. They go online. They identify children online. They start communicating with them, sometimes as a friendly adult. Sometimes they claim to be a person of the opposite gender.
During online chats, they lure children and teens into a real-world relationship offline. Fraudsters work in chat rooms too, developing relationships, looking for someone who will fall for their schemes.
I get their email address and hit them with a Ponzi scheme, a chain letter, a business opportunity, whatever I think will get their money into my pocket.
There is no record kept of what is said in chat channels. Some people make copies of the conversations as they occur, and that could be useful evidence. But the FBI says sometimes the software on the computer automatically saves and secretly stores chat conversation.
In connection with internet cases, it's not uncommon to be able to recover information which was never intentionally saved by the subject in connection with online activities.
That might be
things like conversations that occur in internet relay chat sessions or in instant messages and any online activity which normally is not thought to be saved to the hard drive.
You might be able to uncover conversations where the subject convicts himself.
Absolutely, and in fact we've done that.
Learning points. On IRC chat channels, people communicate by keyboard. Criminals use chat rooms to identify potential financial crime targets. Pedophiles and sexual predators use chat rooms to discuss their exploits and lure victims. Investigators sometimes find chat dialogue that the user did not intentionally save in the computer. When you have a citizen complaint about internet relay chat, here are key cyber questions to ask about the crime and the evidence. What is the name of the chat channel? What is the name of the server it's on? Did the complainant print a copy of what was said in the chat channel? If so, ask for a copy of it. Did the complainant save the chat dialogue in his or her computer? If so, get a copy on floppy disk. Also, what was the nickname or screen name of the offending party? Up until now, we've covered the Internet, made up of the World Wide Web, Usenet newsgroups, and Internet relay chat. But the fact is, many people who go online never go to the Internet. Instead, they go to other places in cyberspace, to online service providers. Online service providers: America Online, the Microsoft Network, CompuServe, Prodigy Internet, AT&T WorldNet, Netcom. All these are online service providers. They offer a variety of information services. Some include online shopping, message boards, chat rooms, and a connection to the Internet. Message boards are like bulletin boards, and here too you'll find get-rich-quick schemes like this one promising you'll make $30,000 by investing just 30 minutes of your time. Some online services also have their own chat rooms where you chat by keyboard, and of course, criminals also visit chat rooms.
I have one of these automated software programs that collects thousands of names from chat rooms, and in 24 hours, I'll hit them with my spam of the week.
Spam is unsolicited email, often junk mail type advertising. Frequently, however, spam is a scam. For example, here's an email telling you you've won a prize, a new modem. Just send your credit card number to cover a $5 shipping fee.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, the "you've won a prize" scam. Not only am I not sending them a modem, I'm going shopping with their credit card number.
Here's another scam. An email claims it's from the billing department at the Internet service provider. To increase security, it says it needs your name, address, credit card number, social security number, and your mother's maiden name.
With that information, I'm sometimes able to call up the credit card company, increase the spending limit, then start buying stuff.
Key learning points. Many people never use the Internet. They use services offered by AOL, Microsoft, and other online service providers. Criminals target consumers in message boards and chat rooms offered by these online services. You may have a complainant who's been victimized by a message in a message board, or in a chat room, or in some other service offered by an online service provider. In such cases, here are the key questions to ask about the crime and the evidence. Who is their Internet service provider? Did the complainant print a copy of what appeared on the computer screen? If so, ask for it. Did the complainant save a copy of the screen image in his or her computer? If so, ask for a copy on floppy disk. What is the offender's screen name? The screen name is a user's unique online identity. The Internet service provider can identify which account committed the offense based on the screen name that was used. Up till now, we've focused on the clues and evidence to look for and information to collect to investigate a crime. In our next segment, we're going to discuss the legal requirements necessary to get critical information you're going to need from Internet service providers. Information available from Internet service providers. A federal law, the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, ECPA for short, sets the legal procedures. ECPA governs what information you may get and what legal document is required. There are three main categories of information, and each requires a different legal document. First, there is subscriber information, which requires a subpoena. Subscriber information includes the name, address, phone, and telephone toll record. Second, there is transactional information, which requires a court order. Transactional information includes log-on and log-off times, credit card numbers, websites visited, and the names of senders and recipients of email. Finally, there is content information, which requires a search warrant. Content information is the actual content contained in an electronic mail message. However, many records are not kept permanently.
The law enforcement officer now has to be concerned very quickly on the evaporation of electronic evidence.
For example, both transaction and content information may be kept only a matter of days, so it's important to act quickly. Online crimes often pose jurisdictional issues for state and local police. For example, a police department here in Maryland may have a case involving an Internet service provider in Virginia. When you have a case involving an out-of-state Internet service provider, funnel your legal request through a law enforcement agency in the ISP's jurisdiction. The The internet service provider can tell you which local agency to work with. Learning points. A subpoena is required to obtain subscriber information. A court order is required to obtain transactional information. A search warrant is required to get the content of email that the account sent or received. Most ISP records are kept only a matter of days or weeks, depending on the company's policy. Online criminals can strike from many locations. It's important to pinpoint where the crime occurred. If a complainant says it happened on the internet, you're going to need to know more. Just imagine someone reporting a crime occurred in New York City. To respond to it, you'd need to know the address or an intersection because New York's a big place. Well, the internet is even bigger. Was the complainant at a website, a news group, an internet relay chat channel? In other words, where on the internet were they? And were they even on the internet? People frequently use the term internet to cover everything that occurs online, and that can be misleading. Maybe the crime happened on the internet. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it happened in a message board or in a chat room operated by an online service provider. To avoid confusion, ask the right questions, and if available, get a printed copy or a floppy disk copy of the image that appeared on the computer screen, including the header information. Those are the first steps to a quick and effective response to online crime. This concludes part 1 of our training program. I'm John Spiropoulos.
Hello again, I'm John Walsh, host of America's Most Wanted. Part 1 of this training program provided a broad overview of the online world, online crime, and law enforcement's role in fighting it. Part 2 goes into greater depth and detail about criminal disguises and investigative tactics. Once again, your online reporter is John Spiropoulos.
The cyber connection may be the missing link to a missing kid. The parents of a 15-year-old California girl find a message from their daughter. I've left with Paul.
Parents come home, find a note. Who is Paul? Then they talk to the girl's best friend. Well, that is Paul, who she met on the internet. Officer arrives to take a report. One of the questions he asked was, well, does she have a computer? Yes. Does she talk on the internet? Every night she talks on the internet.
We need to get someone with cyber talent involved as quickly and as expeditiously as possible in order to ensure that a correct investigation takes place, to ensure that we don't destroy inadvertently extremely valuable, maybe even life-saving evidence.
The officer calls in the Sacramento Valley High Technology Crimes Task Force.
We get out there and we start going through the log files, and I looked in what they call erase space, and I was able to find a conversation that she had recorded and then later on deleted.
But it's still in there.
But it's still there. And it listed the guy's address in Mammoth, California, where he lived, even the plans that they were making on getting a car, him coming up here, getting her.
Once they knew his name and address, police traced the man's license plate and within 24 hours found the 15-year-old girl and a 26-year-old man. Key learning points: it's not always obvious that it's an online crime, as the parents discovered. Get a specialist on the case as quickly as possible. Forensic investigators can often retrieve some or all of the information that has been deleted by the computer user. In the case of the California teenager, the clues needed to solve the crime were in her computer. Frequently, however, solving a crime requires tracking the suspect in cyberspace, and the crooks will use all sorts of tricks to try to send you in the wrong direction. Next, we'll show you how to avoid going down a blind alley. The chase through cyberspace, identifying the suspect account. Finding an online crook is a two-step process. First, identify the suspect account, the account used to commit the crime. Second, identify the person who was at the computer keyboard when the crime was committed. We'll start with this guy who was selling stolen computers over the internet. He advertised his email address, jcomputer@aol.com. jcomputer is his unique identifier. This symbol means @ AOL is the internet service provider, America Online. The police sent the required subpoena to AOL asking for the identity of the account holder. And so AOL was able to provide you with the information as to where this guy lives, etc.?
Actually, yes.
Once the suspect account was identified, Detective Mins made an undercover purchase of a stolen computer to identify the suspect. Police then moved in and seized tens of thousands of dollars worth of stolen computers. It's not always that easy to catch the criminal because smart crooks falsify their email address. It's a practice called spoofing, and it's fairly easy to do.
It's pretty easy for me to send out email with a bogus return address.
Often it's still possible to trace a criminal, but it takes a lot more effort. Here's how. When I go online, my computer and modem dial into a specific number at America Online. When the call reaches AOL, it's assigned to one of AOL's computers and to a specific port of entry on that computer. That port has a number called an Internet Protocol address, IP address for short. Only one customer account can use that specific IP address at any given date and time. Each internet service provider is assigned a specific set of IP addresses. They keep a minute-to-minute record of each IP address and which customer account used it. That Internet Protocol address is on every internet communication. So is the message ID, which contains the IP address and the date and time of the communication. All this information is contained in what are called the headers. With this information and the proper legal request, an internet service provider can identify the suspect account.
If you're out in the field and you run into something like that involves email or news groups or a web page, always ask for things like all the headers on the email messages. Because like a telephone call, it is extremely hard to hide where a message comes from.
When tracing someone in Internet Relay Chat, note the date and time and look in the Users List window. There, next to the chatter's nickname, you'll find the chatter's Internet Protocol address. Each time a user is connected to an Internet service provider, he may be assigned a different Internet Protocol address. It could be one number one time, another number the next, and so on. So you could be investigating 4 different frauds involving 4 different IP addresses. But when the Internet service provider traces all of them, they lead you to the same suspect account. We've accomplished the goals of step 1, identifying the suspect account. But we still don't know who was at the computer keyboard when the account was used to commit the crime. Just as someone can steal my car to commit a street crime, someone can steal my internet account to commit an online crime. When I go online, I enter a secret password known to me and my internet service provider. But sometimes passwords are stolen.
When I steal a password, I go online using that person's account and run my usual scams. It's a sure way to avoid being traced.
In fact, all of the cyber evidence, the email address, the Internet Protocol address, all of it points to my account. But I'm innocent.
Yeah, I just use a stolen account as a vehicle to commit the crime and make my getaway.
Here's how crooks make their stolen password getaway. They email you something enticing. For example, this offers a miracle weight reduction plan. Just click the line below, it says. By doing so, you download and execute a file which is attached to the email. That file contains the information you're promised. What you don't know is that file secretly infiltrates your computer and installs a secret computer program, a type of virus. Later, that virus steals your password and emails it back to the crook. This technique is called a Trojan horse based on Greek mythology. Some cyber crooks use the password scam getaway.
I send out an email claiming I'm from the Internet Service Provider's billing department. We've had a computer problem. Send us your screen name and password as soon as possible, or you won't be able to access your account.
Crooks also utilize the steal your identity getaway. It starts with a phony billing notice from your internet service provider. This email asks for name, billing address, phone, and credit card number.
With that information, I open up several accounts with internet service providers, and the internet records get traced to an innocent party, not me.
Learning points. Identify the suspect account. Crooks use bogus email addresses. Internet service providers can often trace the origin of a communication when provided the headers. Criminals use other people's accounts to commit crimes. Crooks use stolen ID to open accounts and commit crimes with those accounts. So all the evidence seems to point to me and my house. I'm innocent, but you don't know that. You do know, however, that internet accounts can be stolen and used to commit crimes. So once you've identified a suspicious account, investigate further to identify a suspect. In our next segment, we'll show you some of the techniques to do just that. Identifying the suspect. Is there a link between the account holder and or members of the household with the crime that occurred? Example, the crime occurred on an AOL account based in New York City. That account usually enters AOL's network in New York City, but when the crime occurred, the account was online from San Francisco. So someone committed the crime in San Francisco. That's a clue that the New York customer may not be involved. Still, there's more investigating to do.
You check how many people are at that address, how many vehicles are registered to that address, who's receiving mail at that address, who the utilities are registered to at that address, all those stuff, actual physical surveillance.
Additional information sources and investigative techniques include making pretext calls.
We call up and actually do a survey, pretend to be somebody, some new internet provider offering, a free software package, and we say, I'm Uplink Data Corp, for lack of a better term, and I'm offering a $150 software package from Microsoft's Office if you'll answer a 2-minute survey for me, and they love it. They say, sure, okay, how many, do you have internet access at your home? Yes, I do. What kind of computer do you have? Oh, I have an IBM Optiva. Really, what speed is your modem? And on and on and on. And how many people have access to that computer? How many people use the internet?
Some state and federal investigators tape record those conversations. Record the calls if legal to do so in your jurisdiction. Another technique, get a pen register for the telephone lines. That can determine whether the suspect dials into an internet service provider.
What's very valuable here is that number that is dialed by the suspect can be displayed on the pen register, and then if that in fact appears to come back to subscribe to an internet service provider, then that is corroborative information that you can use to assist in probable cause.
In some cases, your investigation will provide you with probable cause to get search and arrest warrants for the account holder and or other members of the household. In other cases, however, your investigation will indicate that, hey, this guy didn't do it, that somebody else used his account to commit the crime. When that happens, you have alternative lines of inquiry to pursue. In cases involving fraud, you'll want to follow the money.
People that are trying to defraud people are really in it for the money. And so that means there has to be some way to get the money to them. And that usually means that there's a physical address that it's sent to, or a P.O. box that's traceable, or that they're asking you to wire money to a bank account, which you can subpoena the records for. And so the money is really the key. Follow the money, and then you'll find the person that's behind the fraud.
In some cases, you'll want to trace the delivery. Where you have the purchase of goods with stolen credit cards, trace the shipment. You may find the crook at the receiving end of the delivery. When there's no money or goods to trace, then we'll trace the call. Here's how. To go online, the suspect's computer and modem must dial into a phone number at an internet service provider, in this case, America Online. When provided the header information on the suspect communication, AOL reviews its log records and determines the following. The suspect went online April 1st, 1998. The time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Duration, he spent 6 minutes and 12 seconds online, and he dialed 301-270-3780 to access AOL's network. Take all of this information and go to the local phone company. With the proper legal request, its call detail records can often trace which local phone number dialed into AOL's network. Learning points. Determine if there is a link between the account holder and the illegal activity that occurred on the account. In fraud cases, follow the money or trace the shipment. It's sometimes possible to trace an online message through call detail analysis of the local phone company records. In some cases, you'll handle the investigation. In others, you'll call federal law enforcement agents for guidance or assistance. In our next segment, we'll cover the kinds of help you can get from the FBI, Secret Service, and U.S. Customs Service. One of the truths of crime fighting is that big cases often start with little cases. A local cop could run into a case where it's a kid in California hacking into the Pentagon.
Absolutely, and what's very interesting in this new environment is that local case, which may seem totally unrelated to anything else could in fact be a key piece of information relative to a national economic or national security issue. So all of a sudden, that local officer who is on his beat dealing with the incidents in his area could tie into a national picture. So how does he fit? It's very, very important for the local officer to realize that indeed the federal government has put together a National Infrastructure Protection Center. Every one of the FBI field offices, the 56 field offices throughout the United States, are positioned to interact with the state and local law enforcement officers in their territory.
The FBI's Computer Analysis and Response Team, CART, stands ready to investigate a wide range of crimes involving computers.
If it is a federal case involving FBI jurisdiction, we're prepared to enter the case as examiners.
In local cases, call the local FBI office for guidance and assistance.
We're happy to try to answer technical questions as to the best way to plan a seizure. We're happy to provide them with some background information and some recommendations concerning language for search warrants, developing of raid plans, and if possible, we're willing to answer questions about how to handle evidence at the crime scene within the limits of what we can tell over the phone.
The U.S. Secret Service also conducts computer forensic investigations and is extremely interested in counterfeit currency, checks, documents, and anything involving credit card fraud. The U.S. Customs Service also has wide authority to investigate computer crimes, and it has an aggressive child pornography enforcement program that spans various locations on the Internet.
We have found that child pornography can be transmitted and received in any of these areas whatsoever. So we have undercover operations going on around the country, basically. We have undercovers that target internet relay chats. We have undercovers that target news groups.
You can reach the United States Customs Cyber Smuggling Child Pornography Enforcement Unit by calling 703-293-8005.
We'll be happy to help any locals. We have before, and we're more than happy to do it again. We all strive to do the same thing, and that's put these people away and protect our kids.
You can also get help from the FBI's Operation Innocent Images.
Our main focus in this investigation, Operation Innocent Images, is to identify individuals who are luring children across state lines for the purpose of illicit sex. We also are interested in those that are distributing child pornography and producing child pornography and uploading it onto the internet or any online service. The FBI has centralized this investigation. It's unlike any other investigation that the FBI currently has. And every child pornography or luring case where someone is going to attempt to travel across state lines for the purpose of illicit sex with a juvenile is centralized through the Baltimore Division. So we have knowledge of all those investigations here. And it really helps out a lot when you're dealing with unknown subjects on the internet to make sure that we're not duplicating our efforts. We conduct all the undercover activity from this location, and we put packets together and we send it out to our local field offices, and then they actually become the case agents and then direct the investigation from their location, the location generally where the subject resides. Every place we go online is predicated, and what I mean by that is we have received a complaint from either another law enforcement agency, another FBI field office, or a citizen complaint advising us that they believe child pornography or some type of illegal activity dealing with children is located at a specific site or in a specific chat room. That's what allows us the ability to go to those places. However, many of the places that we go are self-predicating, and what I mean by that is based on their name alone, you can determine that it is very likely that illegal activity is taking place in those areas.
State and local police across the country can reach Operation Innocent Images by calling 301-586-4500.
And that's a direct number right to Innocent Images Squad. And you can either speak with one of our intelligence research analysts or an agent on the squad to discuss any specific problems that you have or any questions that you have. You may have an ongoing investigation now. If there's anything at all that you think we might be able to help you with.
The U.S. Secret Service provides a variety of services to local police involving crimes against children. Its audio and video enhancement specialists help identify suspects. The agency's automated fingerprint identification system also helps local police identify suspects in cases involving children. In addition, the Secret Service performs polygraph examinations of those suspects, and quite often that leads to confessions. So help is out there, and more training is coming.
We have what's called the Infotech Training Working Group, which is an intergovernmental group of federal, state, and local law enforcement designed to try and figure out how to train everyone across the board. The key thing to remember is we're moving from the industrial age to the information age. This is a major revolution, and all of society has to be brought along and catch up. So we're making steps to do that, but it's a daunting task.
At the state level, New York takes an aggressive approach to online crime. Here, investigators for the State Attorney General's office brief officers on 15 raids they'll make the next morning, all related to internet crime. New York's Attorney General Dennis Vacco also heads the National Association of Attorneys General, which is building a network of online crime investigators.
The National Association of Attorneys General is the best vehicle for that. All 50 Attorneys General are members of NAG. NAG's strengths are training and the dissemination of information. What I hope eventually will occur here is a 50-state network of investigators and prosecutors who are focused on combating child pornography on the internet. We, working with the National Association of Attorneys General, have formed a task force because we want to be able to pick up the phone, or better yet, go online to our colleagues, other cyber crime units in other states, to be able to go online and say, we've identified this person in the state of Colorado. We're referring this matter to your child porn cyber unit. Please handle it. Go get them. Go get them.
Crooks are going high-tech. They're going to lose you in cyberspace unless you know how to respond to an online crime and conduct the follow-up investigation. Remember, you can always call for high-tech backup. If not in your own department, then at the state or federal level. This concludes this portion of the training program. I'm John Spiropoulos.
Hello again, I'm John Walsh, host of America's Most Wanted. Preservation of evidence is always a concern for law enforcement at a crime scene. With online crimes and computer crimes, that presents a very special challenge. In part 3 of this training video, we'll cover how to seize computers and computer evidence, how to package it, how to transport it, and how to store it. Again, your online reporter is John Spiropoulos.
The search warrant request. Whatever the crime, the more specific the search warrant, the better.
The law enforcement officer has to be very careful to articulate in their search warrant application what specific components, what specific types of technical equipment they want to seize. Because that's where the case can be lost, is that if you go too broad on the search warrant for everything that's electrical, everything that's computer-like, that you may lose the case on a legal avenue.
If the search warrant is too broad, the evidence seized may be suppressed.
As long as you can articulate probable cause in your affidavit that you need to seize these things, and there's a reason for you to be able to seize these things, then they're obviously going to be named in your search warrant, and that's what you're going to go out and look for.
These may include a computer and monitor, keyboard and mouse, external storage drives and devices. Many people save material on zip disks used on zip drives. Jazz disks and drives are also common, as are various types of SideQuest disks and drives. People also use floppy disks to store information. In addition, you'll be looking for a modem and perhaps CDs that may contain software or evidence. In addition, there may be evidence on the computer's surface.
Latent fingerprints could be on the keys, they could also be on the screen. That could identify a particular suspect using that machine. Defeating the defense, defeating the suspect's claim, it wasn't me that used a computer, it was somebody else.
Include computer manuals in your search warrant request.
Manuals, make sure you include the ability in your warrant to allow you to seize manuals and operating manuals, so that if your forensic investigator needs to see how a certain software operates, and he's never seen it before, or she's never seen it before, that he can go to a manual and see how to actually access that software and use it.
Learning points. The more specific the search warrant, the better. Seek authority to seize hardware, software, and manuals. Executing the search warrant. Here's a pre-raid briefing at the Sacramento Valley High-Tech Crimes Task Force in California. Sergeant Tushita backgrounds officers on who the target is and how they'll move in on him at his residence. The case involves the internet and a $500,000 computer heist. When officers went through the suspect's front door, they found what they were looking for and a lot more. The entry went smoothly and the suspect was in cuffs in a matter of seconds. Then, while searching the house for evidence, they found multiple weapons. So, don't assume that the suspect is some sort of passive computer geek. You just never know, says Internet investigator Mike McCartney. Here he briefs officers on raids they'll make the next day, all involving online crimes in New York.
Number one and most important is gaining entry to the location safely. And even though these types of search warrants are for child pornography and computers, you still really don't know what's behind that door.
Don't accept the suspect's offer to help you find something in the computer. Criminals have a variety of ways to quickly destroy evidence in the computer, so it's important to secure the computer as quickly as possible.
After securing the scene, with officer safety first and foremost in mind, you want to isolate everybody away from the computer.
If you walk in and someone's manipulating the keyboard, immediately remove them, because they might be manipulating the files or deleting the files.
Learning points. Officer safety is paramount. Don't assume computer criminals are passive and unarmed. Criminals have various ways to quickly destroy computer evidence. Don't let the suspect touch the computer. Secure the computer to ensure the preservation of evidence. Now that the computer is secured, what do we do with it? That depends a great deal on where it's located and the type of system that's involved, as we'll see in our next segment. Seizing the computer. When you encounter a computer that's turned off, don't turn it on. When you encounter a computer that's turned on, don't touch it until instructed what to do.
There is always going to be digital evidence. That evidence is the most fragile of all forms of evidence. It is very easily altered, it is very easily changed by doing such simple things as actually turning the computer on or attempting to read files that are stored on its storage devices.
I think probably the greatest caution is if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Get a hold of somebody. Find someone who does know what they're doing and get them to assist you in your inquiry into the contents of the computer. It's too easy to go in and destroy valuable evidence.
Planning is the key to an effective search involving a computer in any case. If you know that there's going to be a computer at the scene, then the best suggestion is to find someone who is a qualified forensic examiner or been specifically trained in the seizure of computers in connection with crimes. If that's not possible, the next best course is to shut the computer down, package it up, return it to the evidence room without trying to examine it yourself.
There are going to be times when you can't get a trained computer examiner to the crime scene. What then?
The general rule when you come across a computer that's on at a search scene is take a photograph of the screen, paramount number one.
Whenever a computer is on, there may be information on the screen that has not yet been saved to the hard drive, or to a floppy disk, or to some other storage device. Some or all of this information may be lost when you turn off the computer, so it's important to photograph the screen first. What you do next depends on the situation. Situation 1. You're in a house with a typical home computer, one that's not hooked up to any other computer.
In most cases, it is reasonably safe in a home environment to merely pull the plug in order to shut the computer down. There is the potential for the loss of evidence when that's done. There are other safer ways of doing it, but you would need to know the specifics of the operating system and what programs are running in order to do that effectively. Again, the best method is to have a qualified examiner there.
While you can pull the plug, don't pull the plug from the wall outlet.
The best way to do that is go to the back of the machine, follow the AC plug right up to the back, and remove it from the back of the machine.
Now you want to pull the plug from the back of the computer?
Correct.
Not from the outlet?
No, if you pull the plug from the outlet, there's a possibility that you might have a uninterruptible power supply. If you pull it from the wall, the power supply thinks the power's been cut off and can start a program that will shut the computer down. You don't want to manipulate the computer once you're there, so remove it from the back of the computer.
Situation 2, you're at a business where there's a Unix computer system or a series of computers which are linked together. Caution, don't pull the plug on a computer system at a business. Pulling the plug there can cause serious damage. Whenever you have a business target, it's best to do additional investigation to determine the type of computer system it uses. That way you can bring along an expert when you execute the search warrant.
I'll try to do some sort of surreptitious entry, have a surveillance unit try to gain entry during the day, during business hours, under some pretext. We'll maybe call the business and conduct some sort of a phony survey. A number of investigative techniques to try to determine what's in there. But I would like to get my own eyes or some other forensic or computer person to look, to see what kind of connections are coming out of the back of the computers. If it is networked, if they believe it to be a mainframe or a Novell server or something that, which would lead us to believe that we're not dealing with standalone PCs, that we're dealing with a network.
Learning points. If the computer is off, don't turn it on. If the computer is on, have a computer specialist turn it off. If a specialist is not available, pulling the plug is the safest way to turn off a home computer in a home situation. Pull the plug from the back of the computer, not from the wall outlet. Do not pull the plug on a computer at a business. Bring in a specialist. Do not pull the plug on a computer that's linked to other computers. Again, bring in a specialist. Labeling each device and cable. Once the computer is turned off, you may be faced with several pieces of equipment and a tangle of cables and connectors.
You have to document the condition of the back of the computer so we can reconstruct it if it has to go to court. Once again, take your camera out, photograph the back from several different angles.
In addition to taking photos, sketch the connection.
A diagram needs to be drawn. The individual components need to be labeled such that they could be reassembled for future examination.
Officers on this raid carefully noted each device and cable, then labeled each connection point and each end of each cable.
You have to take your time and you label every connector, where it came from, and where it went to. And the reason being is that you may be asked to go back into court a year and a half from now and put all those cables back the exact way that they were when you took them apart.
And if it doesn't work?
And if it doesn't work, or if you do it wrong, or can you do it at all? And that's happened to me, I know. That's why you make a diagram, you take a photograph, and you label everything. And it also shows that the computer was up and operating. And there's nothing better in court than to turn the bad guy system on and show the jury of 12 the evidence. It really works because he has no defense at that point.
You have to be able to put the computer back together.
The best way to do that is start from the left side of the back of the machine and label each connector and each wire, starting with either A or the number 1. I prefer to start with the numbers and then move from left to right. Everything gets numbered. If there's a slot that's empty, indicate empty somehow. I usually use MTY, which is empty.
Here's the back of a monitor, computer, and zip drive. We've labeled each point of entry on each device. Call it a connection point, port, slot, whatever you call it, each one gets a label. The end of the cable that goes into slot number 1 also gets labeled number 1. The other end of this cable connects to the zip drive to slot number 9, so the other end of this cable gets labeled with a number 9. So when all this has to get put back together, you'll know that the cable end marked number 1 goes into slot number 1. The other end of the cable marked number 9 goes into slot number 9. Do that with each and every cable and slot. 2 goes into 2. 3 goes into 3. Any slots that are empty, mark them empty. MTY, for example, for empty.
If you notice, we've got some empty ports right here. 6 months from now, you're not going to remember if there was something in there or not. So what I do is I mark it that it was empty.
Learning points. Take a photo of the back of the computer and everything connected to it. Diagram the connections. Mark each end of each cable and the corresponding connecting point. If a connection point is empty, mark it empty. Now that everything's photographed, diagrammed, and labeled, 3 challenges remain. bagging, transporting, and storing computers. It's important to properly package the computer, providing as much cushion as possible to avoid damage while transporting it.
This evidence needs to be handled gently. We like to use bubble wrap around it. Do not use Excelsior, Styrofoam, or anything else that's liable to get caught inside the computer or contains a great deal of static electricity.
All right, we've got it all bagged and tagged, and we throw it in the trunk.
No, not quite. You have to take care with the computer, especially in a police car, because most of the transmitters are in the trunk.
Don't put the computer in the trunk where radio transmissions occur. That could damage or fry the computer's hard drive.
If you take the computer, the CPU, the box, put it in the trunk next to the transmitter, get your unit, tell the dispatcher that you're en route back to the lockup, there's a possibility you might have fried the hard drive.
The devices need to be protected from magnetic fields, from radio frequency radiation, and should not be transported with the radios on if at all possible.
In addition, put the computer in the car where the ride is smoother.
What I recommend is take the computer, put it in the on the floor, not on the seat. The reason you don't want to put it on the seat is the seat is designed for a 150-pound butt to sit there and shake. If you take a light 20-pound computer, put it on there, the vibrations from the road are amplified from the seat into the computer, and you can wind up shaking a board loose or wind up damaging the hard drive. Once you get it back to the station, you want to put it in an area where it won't be touched, an area away from any electromagnetic interference. You don't want to put it next to a generator. You don't want to put it next to a magnet that you use to dredge the lake with or anything like that.
Cool, dry area?
Cool, dry area, air conditioned if possible.
Key learning points. Carefully package the computer. Don't place the computer in the trunk. Don't place the computer near radio transmitters or magnetic fields. Store the computer in a cool, dry area. Seizing collateral evidence. In addition to the computer, you're looking for computer evidence which may be stored elsewhere on various disks, cartridges, and tapes. Seize these storage media and the devices which operate them. But though we're in the age of high-tech crime, scribbled notes can convict just as easily.
What's very important are handwritten notes, passwords, email identities of people that they could be in contact with and or abusing can be written down. Documentary evidence is still paramount in many of these cases.
Now you're telling me in the age of electronics, scribbles on notes that may even be in the garbage or under the keyboard are important.
They're very important. And what's most important to us are things that are scribbled down closest to the keyboard, closest to where the user can get to them all the time.
Notes may be stuck to the screen, under the keyboard, anywhere on the desk, even in the trash. They may contain names, addresses, even computer passwords. While interviewing members of the household, try to find out if you need a password to enter the computer and what that password is.
More times than not, we have obtained critical password information, other security information on the computer crime scene.
Also look for spiral notebooks, which may contain password information as well as evidence.
If a guy's surfing the internet and he's writing down some of his favorite websites, he'll jot down those numbers, usually in a spiral notebook, so he can get back to them when he needs to.
Key learning points. Presuming the search warrant permits, seize disks, cartridges, and tapes, as well as the playback devices which operate them. For example, seize the zip disks as well as the zip drive. Look for handwritten notes, notebooks, printouts that may contain passwords and other information. We've covered a lot of information. Don't expect to digest and understand it all at once. When you can, review the material. And remember, your routines, your tasks are much the same as they are with other types of crime. You have to ask the right questions, identify a victim, identify potential suspects, and carefully gather evidence so as not to taint or destroy it. In other words, regular police work. It's not the kind of work you learned at the police academy, but since then, crooks have gone on to graduate school, so they have a head start. Law enforcement has no choice but to get the training to keep pace and overtake them. This concludes our three-part training video. I'm John Spiropoulos.
As you've seen in this three-part training program, today's online thieves use various disguises to hide their identity and employ various methods to hide their tracks and true location. But as you've also seen, it is possible to trace and arrest them, and more of them will be caught as law enforcement learns how to respond to online crime and track down the cyber criminals, wherever they are. One more thing. Now that you've come this far on this subject, keep going. There's more training available, high-tech police organizations to join, even crime-fighting websites to visit. Law enforcement officers who get involved in this field find it both challenging and rewarding. And the more people like you that get involved, the safer the online world will be for our kids and everyone. I'm John Walsh. Thanks for watching. Go get 'em.
All electronic communication providers, as defined under Title 18, Section 2510, or remote computing services under Title 18, Section 2711, while engaged in serving the public, are now required by law to report any knowledge of facts or circumstances involving child pornography, which may result in a violation of Section 2251, 2251A, 2252, 2252A, or 2260 of Title 18 United States Code to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's Cyber Tip Line. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's Cyber Tip Line requests that you provide specific identifying information in the Reporting Person Information section set forth on the Cyber Tip Line report form. Failure to provide complete information as requested may result in our inability to verify your report, which may result in a penalty assessment or other sanctions as provided by law.